as in we've brought some bits and pieces and actually having people in the audience picking up and trying to fit them or glue them or other things with them. There are sharp objects here, so just be careful. Yes, I'll try not to do too much of that. Okay, well, no, these are all clean, I promise. So, yeah, so Dave, do you want to just run through what we're going to talk about?
Why don't I run through what we're talking about? And look, for goodness sake, move down closer to the front. This is meant to be interactive. We've got plastic here that we want in your hands for those of you that want to, well, those that may not have done any modelling for a long time, that may feel that they have lost their skills or they want to get up to speed with what's available in the shops and in boxes and so on. So there's return modelers, brand new modelers, or those that just would like to be able to improve things a little bit. This club, as you know, has over 200 members at the moment. We have a website, a newsletter, and we have some very generous sponsors in the modelling industry, some of them here today, and some of them in shops around here. So in a lot of ways, if you want to learn a little bit, come to the front because you've come to the right place. There's a lot of corporate knowledge in this room and available through the people in this room, and we hope to help get you re-energized and back into making great models. So let's talk about when, where, and what to get started with.
Yeah, you didn't warn me about that. So one of the things that I've said to other people where they've asked me, well, what do you do? There are two things you need to get going: space and time. Time you can pick and choose, like, oh, I will eat or I will make a model, right? Or I will go out with my wife or I will make a model. Right? That never would. Anyway, so, but the thing that really makes it easy to be able to make a choice about when you're going to be doing your modeling is to have a space set up where you know you can set it up, you can leave it there, you can go away and do other things and come back and maybe spend 5 minutes with something. It's not easy, but it does make it easier to go back to doing what you were doing. Anyway, that's one thing I will say to everyone. See if you can set up a space where you can actually set up what you're going to be working on, and you know that you can leave it there, and then in the middle of the night, if you wake up, you can't sleep, you go, you know what, I'm going to go glue a couple of wings together or whatever it is, right? So that's the one thing. The other things are all. So where are we? Like people that were doing modelling, say 20, 30 years ago, 50 years ago. Not everyone here, anyway. So all I'm saying is things have changed since the old days of Airfix bag kits and even the old Tamiya kits, right? These days, you look at what's available and you're going, I don't even know where to start, or what's the right glue or the right paint or whatever, right? So what Dave and I have suggested is pick something simple, not the latest 32nd scale F14 Tomcat with all the Edward resin and photo etch bits. That's not a good idea if you're just starting to go back into modelling. Maybe pick something that is just basically about, it's a Tamiya, Hasegawa. Edward is getting a little bit complicated, but they've all got good basic kits where you can practice the basic techniques. He's on his phone.
Oh, I was going to set up.
Oh, is it timer?
Timer.
It's still not working yet.
No, it's not. We haven't started yet.
Oh, okay.
Now, look, the idea really is to make sure that there's a sense of fun in this. You are going to pick up a model and get on with it. If you think it's going to be fun, if you've got the time and the place, as Steve says, and as long as it's not too big and too complex and too ugly, you're not trying to do too much at once. We can all get out of the swing I can't remember the last time I sprayed a model. It was, I guess, at least a year ago, and I'm going to have to go back and rethink my mixtures and the pressures and so on and so forth. Don't let yourself get out of it, and don't let it look or sound too complicated to scare you off. What you really need is something that motivates you. Now, I'll be honest, and I'll say for me, with a lifetime working on airplanes, it's aeroplanes. There are people that want to get back into modelling because they love the use of the skills, practicing the skills, and expanding their skills. For me, all I want to do is focus all those skills on aeroplanes. But what I'm getting at is we have different things that motivate us. If you've always built ships and you want to try AFVs, then do it, because if that's what motivates you, it'll be better for you in the long run. It'll get you into the swing and you'll get going. So what we've got here today is a few bits and pieces that will give you an idea of how to get started on something relatively simple. And if it's not exactly your chosen subject, the fact that it's simple will mean that you should be able to get a bit of fun out of putting some stuff together or tinkering with it and getting your fingers stuck together and getting the smell of glue in your nose and this sort of thing. Over to you, Simon.
Okay. Thanks for that.
With the timer.
Oh, okay. You fix the timer. Where are we up to? Oh, okay. So
Up there.
that's
right.
what Dave suggested not to do. But anyway, that's fine. If you heard, do it. Start with a simple, straightforward kit. Yes, not your. We've done that.
We've done that.
Yeah. Okay. Tools. Okay. So I brought my little sewing box. It's actually not for sewing. So what I've done is I've made little bits and pieces of the tools and the tools that you're going to need to start off with, and it can be just one of each, or you can have a couple. Hang on, I need both hands for this one. Okay, here we go. So here is a knife, a scalpel. I think very useful for making model kits. Look at this.
That's not a knife.
That's a knife. Okay. Oh God, Crocodile Dundee all over again. So a pair of snips for cutting off the plastic bits. Okay, so these are all, there's cotton buds and there's toothpicks. There's little plastic things with furry bits at the end of them. These are all applicators and things. We'll come back to that. So tweezers and what are they called? Files, right? Little drills and a drill thingy and some masking tape and a piece of glass. Hang on, can you hold it? Oh. Useful to have a piece of glass. If you've got an old photo that you're not, whatever's there, whatever. It's for cutting either photo etch brass or even getting nice sharp cuts of plastic or whatever. It's good to have something like that to go with your cutting board, which is not as hard. So glass is hard, so it resists and makes it easier to remove things. Right? And of course, the various paints and shaping tools, little ruler thingamajiggy. If you want to measure things, like especially if you want to make sure you cut at the right spot. Always good preparation. Don't just wing it like I do. Okay, so this other thing is putty for filling seams and joints. So all this, as you saw, fitted into this little box. Other things so glue is another thing you're going to need, and there's different types. There's liquid cement. There's the Revel. These are the chaps. That one, the good, great things. These the applicator works really well. And then there's super glues. Like if you're not working with plastic, if you're working with resin or photo etched, super glue is what you're going to need. All these things, like it's about 100 times more than what you would have been looking for about 20, 30, 40, 50. I don't want to go further than that, but anyway, yeah, exactly. So now it's kind of like maybe start with a few bits and pieces and pick a model kit that will only need those few bits and pieces, so you can actually feel that you can accomplish something without having to read all these books about. And there's lots of material available on how to do stuff. David,
I think the important thing is to remember that you can get a little overwhelmed by the specialist tools which are available in large numbers and at large prices in a lot of these specialist shops. These, for instance, are SMS, very good supplier. These are the sanding boards, different types. These almost exactly the same are ladies' filing boards for fingernails, and they're awfully good. And they're padded and they're a little bit flexible, and they'll move and contour and so on. There's a couple that have been in use for a good few years. You don't have to go mad. I know I'm showing my age, but when I started, for snipping bits off the screws, I just used my mum's nail clippers, which when she realised what I was doing, But I was happy to explain it was just plastic. It wasn't going to spoil the edge on the nail. But a pair of nail clippers is perfectly good to get started on snipping things off the plastic off the screws. And my dad had a little safety razor, a blade with a thick edge on one side, so a little 8-year-old could hold it without wounding himself too much. And that was about it. That and some glue. Oh, and back in the good old days, of course, Airfix kits had a little blob of glue that came in, and we all squeezed it too much and it shot everywhere. But these days, as Steve says, with applicators like this, it's much better. One little trick is making sure the reason that these are on an angle is so that when you put it down like that, the glue drains back down out of the tube and doesn't stick or doesn't clog it up. If it does, Steve and I have different ways of keeping with this. That is a little bit of fuse wire.
They can't see it.
Rolled. Yeah, well, it's on.
It's very thin. It's got to fit in the end of
it. Yeah, it's got to fit in the end. That's right.
And just push it through. Another technique. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you go.
Another technique that I use is having a lighter, and then so you guys, you burn. Don't stand or breathe in. Anyway, so I don't need to tell you about protecting yourself. So there's different ways of clearing the applicator.
The reason I don't use a lighter is that I spray with enamels.
Okay, is that anyway? It doesn't matter. So here we are, highly flammables, right? So, okay, so we've picked a model kit to start off with.
We have a few.
Actually, why don't you tell us about what you've got there?
Okay. One of my passions is kitty hooks, tom hooks, and hooks. Hook 75s. We've got a few here. That sort of thing. More those. Now, I enjoy these because they sold quite a few of them to quite a few of the world's air forces in anywhere between small and large numbers. And there's a lot of different colour schemes, which I enjoy. But the beauty is that there's only about 3 dozen parts to put any one of these together. I'm building an Edward Spitfire. I've put more parts together than that, and I haven't got the fuselage halves together yet because there's nearly 40 bits that go inside the fuselage. So don't pick an Edward kit to get started. They're much too complex. This has got a 6-part cockpit. There's
It's a wing.
There's a wing. There's a half a wing. There's half a fuselage, and that's basically the shape of the airplane. So, who has not applied glue to plastic in the last 12 months? Anybody want to come up the front here and apply glue to plastic? Because we've got fuselages that need sticking together, and fuselages and wings that need sticking.
That's right. Yeah. So let's say this is the first of our hands-on gluing bits, gluing wings, and
There you
also
go.
fitting wings to the fuselage.
Who's going to be first?
You can't damage any of this.
No.
Right. Okay, so he's picked up a wing. So, what's your name?
Sorry, Tim.
Tim.
Yeah.
Tim, you have 2 wings, but you're going to need something else to get them to stick together.
Yes. You're going to need good old-fashioned.
I was talking about the glue, but anyway, that's fine.
Oh, there's the glue. There's the glue. No, there's. Yeah.
All right. So, just before you go on, we had prepared this beforehand. So the idea is,
You're supposed to say here. This is one I prepared.
this is
earlier.
one I prepared earlier. Oh, okay, fine. So just have a look at that there, and you'll see that there's some beading. And the beading is to prevent having to fill. So you apply glue and squeeze it together, put the pegs to make sure, and the plastic, because it melts, it actually welds together. It comes out, and it actually is easier to deal with the plastic that's come out than trying to fill a gap. So just have a look at that and see if you can get the same effect, Tim.
Yeah, that's what I use at home. So.
Okay. In the meantime, we have other model. If anyone else wants to experiment, there's the other side of that wing.
This really
glue.
is meant to be hands-on.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone else wants to go gluing that together, and then we can talk about fitting it to the fuselage.
While we've got a few people working actually with plastic, let's talk a little bit more about the general approach to
Just picking up from where Dave left off. This is a trumpeter kit. It's been around for a while. It's the Illusion IL-28 Beagle. Looking at the instructions, because it's printed in China, and in fact a lot of instructions these days, they don't have a lot of words in there. So there's a lot of drawings and a lot of pictograms. So try to understand what the pictograms mean at the beginning. So what's the application of a decal? What's an alternative part? What's a cut here or drill here? And even then, always check to make sure, well, does it make sense to do what they're telling you to do? Because sometimes they tell you to do something that says, how the hell is that going to work? So also, a lot of the instructions come with a map of the bits, and sometimes there's they grade out the bits that you're not going to use for that particular mold. So it's a good idea to just lay out the bits that you've got in the model kit, have a look at the instructions, and then have a look at, well, okay, so if there's an option, what are the bits that I'm going to need? What don't I need, as Dave suggested? Do you want me to keep going? I'll keep going. So, does anybody want to have a go at cutting some bits off and gluing them together from this trumpeter kit?
You're a bit too shy.
We can skip the wings are a good thing. How'd that go?
Yeah. All right.
Excellent. Mm-hmm. Very good. Yes.
Just a question about using ultra-thin cement with things like wings. The problem I've had sometimes is that guys use the conventional means of just throwing stuff around. By the time it's finished, one wing's big enough to dry. And there is another means, way I do it, where you hold it together and just jab it.
Capillary action.
Yeah. Okay.
Which do you recommend?
So the question was, with the liquid cement working on large areas, the wings. Yep. Okay. So I would use the applicator with the normal polystyrene cement on things like wings, because then you can bring it together and you can get the plastic come out, etc. Where the liquid cement really comes out is where you can put the two bits together and you can apply it, and it's not really a major structural component, if you know what I mean, right? Yeah. That not to say that it won't work like a small wings. The other thing that I found with the liquid cement is that if you apply it on a surface, it can damage the surface. So really it's a matter of, okay, so I'll use the normal plastic cement, unless it's a situation where it's difficult to use the normal plastic cement, in which case will the liquid cement make it easy for me to apply and glue the bits, especially if it's not a large area or if it's not a weight bearing area or something like that. Because I think with a liquid cement, it's difficult to actually get it to weld properly. Does that help?
So less than speaking anything large and structural, you stick with medium viscosity.
Yes.
And reserve the extra thin for accessories and
smaller bits, where it may be difficult to or where you don't want a lot of glue, the liquid cement is just enough, just right.
Okay. Thank you very much. much.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. The liquid cement, because it evaporates fairly quickly and it's thin, it is good to use for delicate parts like, say, attaching an aerial to the spine of a fuselage or drums or wing leading edge, that sort of thing. Me too. I would tend to use the tube applicator for a structural item, mainly, well, also because you can get enough glue there to fill the gap, and it's when you're cleaning up, it's always easier to remove an excess of welded plastic along a joint than to fill a very small gap and then try and fill it up and clean it up properly afterwards.
Now, what's the second question? Also about glues. I normally use brushes and cement. Do you? What are the main advantages in the needle?
So
What's the main advantage of using needle applicator to do viscosity rather than brush? What do you find better about it?
what I like about the brush is that sorry. With this, yes, if you can tip this at the right angle, put a little bit of pressure on the container, and you'll get an even flow. You can, in fact, if you get the right angle so that gravity is feeding the glue out the end, you run it along, and essentially capillary action will mean you can draw this along, leading and trailing edge, and then put join your half into it. This I find is very controllable with just by hand movements, if you know what I mean.
No, you can just what the I use the micro mesh.
Do we have anybody else who would like to come up and actually play with plastic?
I think I should read the instruction manual.
Oh yes, look. Yeah, see if you can find the wings. The outer
The wings are the big bits.
Yep. Yes, that's right. On a plane, the wings are the big. Anyway, so enough of that. So with that particular kit that you've got there, just the outer wings, if you want to glue the two outer wings on those ones. But before you glue them, you may want to cut them off. So there we are. There's one option. Practice. Do you want a cutting board? There's one of these. There's one of those.
Well, if you're just going to cut,
Oh, okay. So there's. Oh, yes.
So Steve, once you've cut the pieces off,
Yes.
and you find for whatever reason you transport everything, the parts don't. There's a lot of tension there. In other words, they're warped slightly. Is there any way to get rid of that?
Okay, so it depends on what part is warped. Like if it's a fuselage.
Just for a wing or something.
Okay, so this is where there's different ways of doing it depending on the amount of warping that's going on.
Yeah.
But normally, if you can use, so what's going on here? They're using pegs to for the wings. That normally is more than enough to get you to the point where, if one part isn't right, that it'll glue together. Right. Major warping may require using like hot water, and it's kind of like, well, do I really want to go to the effort? Especially if I'm a beginner. If there's major warped bits in a model that you've got, put it aside. Go to one that doesn't have warped bits, right? Because it's kind of a later thing, right? But yeah, so if the idea is to get the wing to fit and look okay, and then attach it to the fuselage. There is another technique that people use, which is maybe attach the top wings to the fuselage and then put the bottom wing together. I've never had to do that, but there are cases where, and we'll see with this particular kit, which was like $2 at Kmart from about, I don't know how many years ago. I mean, it looks all right. It looks like a Mustang, but when you start to put the bits together, and it's kind of like you saw, I was holding it before, it just flicked out of my hand because it wasn't fitting properly. I'm going, well, this is going to be a bit of a challenge to get in there, right? So it's so that brings me to the point where dry fitting, right? Before you apply glue, always make sure that the parts are actually going to go together okay. And it's also a way of seeing, well, do I need to do anything more to prepare the bits before I glue them? Because sometimes the pins that are available, you'd be better off cutting them off rather than making sure they fit in the holes, because then it's not lined up.
I know.
So,
Sometimes.
yeah, the dry fitting, like to what Tim's doing at the moment, with those, does it fit together? Does it look like it's going to be okay, or is there some warping or a gap or something? And does it matter where it is, right? Because sometimes it won't matter, right? But other times you're going, well, that's going to be a bit of a bugger to fix, right? So looking at the instructions, I know it's against, especially with guys that read the instructions, but the whole trial and error, do it before you glue. So what is it? Practice 3 times and then glue once or something like that.
Something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that.
Maybe twice, not once, I think.
There, well, yeah. Well, in our case, I'd do more than both.
Test fit twice and glue once.
Yeah.
Yes, test fit twice and glue once is the carpenter's equivalent.
So, just Brendan, thank you very much for gluing this wing together, just to demonstrate. Okay, so I'm going to try to fit what looks like a very well glued wing to a fuselage. Mind you, we haven't glued all the fuselage together. We've left a bit of a gap here in front. Specifically, if there's a gap, maybe we can do that without having to fill in the gaps of the wings, because it's easier to fill the body of the plane rather than the wing root fillet. So here goes Steve trying to fit in. So they should go, right, because it's supposedly engineered and designed. I'm not sure if you can see what's going on here. No, up there.
You never get a job with North American.
They don't even exist anymore. Anyway, so what this tells me is I'm going to stop doing this and I'm going to think about how I'm going to remove some plastic without losing too much plastic, but remove some plastic so that it actually will sit in there. I'm not even worrying about the filling of the roots because it's not even sitting properly on the plane yet. Right? So do something to excise it.
I could get one of my well-fitting hooks.
You could do that.
What just to add a little bit more of background to this, the idea of this series is that these sort of real hands-on demonstrations and actual practical sessions will be complemented through the year by the option for some one-on-one coaching and one-on-one testing, if you like, trialing, we're looking ultimately towards a kind of a help desk sort of thing, so that one of us will be available to have a chat at any one of these meetings. You can come along with a little fit problem or build problem or a question or something, and we'll see whether we can help you out or put you in touch with somebody who can. The whole idea, as we said from the beginning, really is to try and make sure that as you get back into it or you look to improve your skills, you're getting some fun out of it, you're getting some enjoyment out of it, which will help you continue on with the idea of building more models. And if there is a mantra to the club, it's more models on the table.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. I'm just filing away at this. I'll continue in a second. And I'll show you that it will eventually fit. So, yeah, the files, dry fitting, filing, when it all fits with a dry fitting, then have a think about, okay, now I might try gluing. With this particular, the wing route, I want to get to the point where we can have a look at some options of dealing with any gaps at the wing route. But right now you want to get to the point where you can see whether there's a gap or not. Sorry, are there any questions from anyone about anything that we've covered so far? Right. So what we're trying to do is we're focusing on being
Sorry,
really?
That's our timer.
I thought it was Elaine. Okay. So time's up. We have to go now. No, we'll keep going. No, yeah. So the idea is the preparation, the gluing, the dry fitting. This is the basics of getting started. All right. So maybe go and talk to someone about, okay, these are the paints that are recommended, but the only bit of an aeroplane that you're going to need to paint is the cockpit. And when you're doing some basic kits, really the cockpit could just be maybe just do some matte black or green or whatever, right? Try not to put the pilot in because then there's a lot of paint. And seatbelts. Okay, so has anyone got any old wine bottles with the foil from the top of the wine bottle? Just cut that into strips, and there's your seat belts if you don't have any seat belts to attach, right?
You also paint the inside of the canopy black.
Fine, you could do that. Yeah, so you don't have to worry. They can't see inside. These are all right now. You're trying to build up your skills, and what I've been saying to people, a skill is something that improves with practice, and if you don't practice it, then it's difficult to say that you're actually getting better at it. So so basic kits, like even just putting these wings together now, I think is a start. Like with this little 1-to-144 ferry battle, you can just get something like that and just practice gluing to get the right shape without getting a lot of gaps and stuff. Right? If you can find some really cheap, I mean I know these days they're not, some really cheap kits just to practice that, the bit of being able to glue stuff and get it to fit together so that it looks like a complete aeroplane. It is the Zvezda kit. It's actually a very good little kit, and it came with a magazine that I bought, I don't know how many years ago. It was a free kit. Right? You don't get a lot of that stuff these days. Anyway, Dave, do you want to? Is there anything you want to say? You want me to just keep talking?
No, look, you can keep on.
I can just keep on talking.
Sure
Well, do you want to see if you can get that to fit?
Get that little basket.
Yeah, there's a file, and I was going to file that bit a bit more.
We haven't got the bits off here.
And, well, wait a minute. Just try to get it in there first. It's criticising my technique. Yes.
So Steve, in the dry fitting part, that's for example, let's say you put them together and you find through the moulding process or whatever, there's gaps and things like that.
Yep.
Are you saying the cement will help fill that gap?
Well, it depends on the size of the gap.
Yep.
Right. And sometimes with that kind of thing, you can actually bring the wings together. You know, I don't know. I'm not into measuring the dihedral, saying, "Oh, that's 1 degree out. You shouldn't have done that." So the idea is to make it look like a real plane. Most real planes don't have big gaps down the wing route. Okay. So yes, maybe the application of just the right amount of cement will fill that gap. Maybe not. There are things like the the Tamiya putty.
Yeah.
That and non-acetone nail polish remover. Non-acetone nail polish remover. This and this work really well, and it doesn't damage the wing root. So when Dave finishes that, I'll actually apply it, and I'll show you why. Because this stuff actually, the non-acetone based nail polish remover will melt the putty. So you can apply it to the wing root. I mean, you don't want to have so much that, anyway, just apply it. So you need a tool. Somewhere here I have a tool. Hang on. I'm just going to put this down. It's underneath the sharp glass. Okay, so I'm not sure if you can see, but this is a little sculpting tool, right? Something that, I mean, you can use a paddle pop or whatever. You can use a nail, a knife thing, right? Just something. So when you're applying it to the wing root, the putty, you can use it to shape and get as much unnecessary putty out of the way and as much putty as needs to be into the gap. Then comes, well, okay, but there's always going to be a little bit of putty left over. I've tried sanding, but then you run the risk of removing some of the surface detail, especially where there's raised panel lines, right? So I don't know how many years ago, but 10, 15 years ago, I used the Tamiya putty. It was attaching the nacelles of the Tamiya 48 scale Lancaster gaps on that plane. I used this, and it was as if the only putty that was left was the putty that was in the gap. When I sprayed it, you couldn't tell that there had been a gap at all, right? So that works for me, and I continue to this day to do it wherever possible, where there's gaps where, all right, what I'll do is I'll put the putty in, I'll apply the putty. There are other occasions where you need to sand, but the wing root is a place where you want to just get enough to fill the root without. Where the gap is so large that even the putty starts to form this concave thing, Other people have said, well, maybe cut thin bits of plastic or use other things. You know what? Don't worry about that kit to begin with. Get something else that doesn't have those gaps. Okay.
So, with the wing roots, another thing I've had customers, few customers sworn by is using deluxe materials, but it was water based. So you do similar thing there, you put it over, but then you use a cotton bud with water.
Sure, it's the same idea. Yeah. So I mean, if that's a new thing I haven't heard of. So a new product, water soluble putty, obviously much safer to use than this one. Right now, I'm going to. Oh, that looks pretty good, Dave. You've done a good job. But I'm going to apply some putty here while you talk.
Oh, I haven't stuck it yet. I just
Oh, you want me to stick it? Why don't I stick it?
well, it's your kit. You should.
Oh, okay, all right. Hey, who said that?
Oh, we have something from the Rocket Society here.
Yeah, that's right. It's
Okay,
not-
all right.
it's not-
I'm just gonna-
It's not perfect yet, but
No, it's all glue. It's a gap. Look at that.
oh yeah, that one. That is.
Yeah, I'm going to fix it. Don't you worry about it.
All right.
As go be able to
If it's any help, as Steve was saying before, he can fit most of his baseline kit, baseline tools in a little box like that. This is my minimum flyaway toolkit, and these little what they call clip fresh things that you can buy in Coles and so on for a few dollars. They're very good little things because you can clip the top down. So if you get a little bit of leaky glue or something like that, it stays in there rather than the smell stays in there as well. This is my more advanced second generation or second tier of flyaway model making, and then there's other bits and pieces like this is the tin of all the clips and so on. There's plenty of ways of making sure that you can get small tools that will fit into these little boxes, just to make sure that you're not taking up too much room. But the idea of this is, don't try and put everything into one box, and then when you think, oh, I've got an hour, I could do a bit of modelling tonight, it's taking you 3/4 of an hour to find where your bloody scalpel is. Try and you know, I'm speaking from experience here. I've got a lot of sorting out to do at home. I just discovered that I had two more of. Look at that! I've got 4 of these little glues. Just found them today. But anyway,
just keep buying them.
But the idea is, yes, make it simple. Make it so that you can start quickly, get something usefully done, and then let it dry off overnight until tomorrow night. If you can get yourself a largish tray, you know, like an old tea tray with the handles on the end, something like that. Go and pick one up at a trash and treasure store or something like that. You can put most of your stuff on there, bring it in, do the work on the kitchen table, and then take it back out in the garage, and really not spoil anybody else's day, not use up permanent space, and you know, unlike a jigsaw puzzle on a dining table, you know, you're not going to be stopping other functions in the house by occupying things for too long.
Yeah, sorry, I'll hand it back to you in a second. Brendan, just hand that around, have a look at it, and see the number of places you're going to have to think about applying some way of. The wings haven't been glued to the body yet, right? But you can start to see there's a bit of work that's going to be required, and it's not just the wing root fillets. Yep. So anyway, hand that along.
Would anybody like to start trimming up a wing, an upper and lower wing joint here? I've got a previously glued one. Yeah.
Sorry, what's your name again? Malcolm.
Run. I know you know how to do this, Malcolm, but run your finger around that and work out what needs to be done. There's two ways of removing the excess glue and helping to close the gaps. One is sanding, and the other is with a blade. I remember an old modeler a long time ago telling me, particularly for fuselage spines, that if you get a curved blade and you apply the blade and you run it at 90 degrees along the spine, this is absolutely when the glue is dry, not before the glue is dry. But once it's all dry and hard, you can scrape, and you will see because of a change in the texture in the plastic, you will see where you are actually scraping plastic off. If you've got a curved blade, you can very delicately adjust where you're taking it off from. And so when you see that everything on either side of the join line is the same texture, you have taken off everything that was raised and was in the way. And then you come back with a little bit of a little sanding stick or a little bit of wet and dry, something like that, and you polish it up. And it's a very quick and easy way to
Shaped files.
shape files for more.
You can get
energized
squares and circles and
yeah.
With something like this, again, an emery board, it's something like similar.
It's not going to take too much on that.
Rotate and make sure I don't go too far in.
Mm-hmm. Well, have a go with one of these.
Well, I'm pretty experienced, but it's pretty rusty. I've had nothing to place it come there for 3 years. So I want to get back into it.
so, and that's the reason for us focusing on this. It's most people that join, a lot of people that I've spoken to that have joined the society have said, I want to get back into it after many years. So the only thing I can encourage you to do is just get back into it.
That's why I tell people, beginners in soil work, you learn to build models by building models.
Correct. Skills improve with practice. Yep.
That's right. That's right.
Just like life, really. No, we won't go there. Okay. Yes. So, how are we going so far? How are we going?
Well,
So
we're
far?
well and truly over time.
Are we? Well, are we near finishing?
We probably are near. We probably are near finishing.
Okay. So
There's one more tip I might offer. You will probably not really see how good your assembly and cleaning up has been until you apply the first layer of paint. So we'll get to a bit more on that later. But don't be afraid when you've cleaned up the joint to what you think is the best you can do. Don't be afraid. Take a look at the rest of the model, and you'll see that broadly the plastic is shiny. It's semi-gloss. It's not mirror finish, but it's semi-gloss. So really, to make sure that your joints don't stand out when there's got a coat of paint on, it's a good idea to look at polishing them. And the best thing to use is toothpaste. Toothpaste. Get an old handkerchief or a rag, just wet, stick your finger in it, wet it, get a bit off the edge, polish it back and forth, and it will polish up an otherwise slightly roughened surface beautifully, and it will help those joints disappear.
And your teeth. Sorry.
Don't forget to brush your teeth as well.
Is this does it matter what kind of toothpaste we use?
I do prefer McLean's.
McLean's. Okay, very good. Do they still sell that stuff? Anyway,
And there's nothing better than the minty model.
So okay. I think we might finish it up for this evening. Are there any final questions? No. What I'm more than happy to do is I'll give my mobile number to anyone who wants it. If you want to give me a call, or David as well, how to get started, more than happy. I am retired, so I don't have to worry about work, but there is another person at home who sometimes directs me to do things. That's why it's always a good idea. Send me a text, or if you do want to, how do I get started with this model kit? More than happy to make time and do one-on-one or one-on-two or whatever. Okay?
Mm-hmm. So it's good night from me.
And it's good night from him as well. So